everybody, and welcome back to another Destiny video. Today I have a new build that I really want to show off, and it's just so amazing. It is a ton of fun in Crucible, and I swear this build makes the craziest of stuff happen. Now, this build is a Strand Hunter build that is going to use a very specific and new exotic called Oathkeeper. If you don't know how to get Oathkeeper, like you're newer to Destiny or you just haven't done the story, as I just said, it's in the story. So you have to do this season, the Season of the Wish story, and you will eventually get to a part where you have to do the Star-Crossed exotic mission. That is how you get the bow that I'm using here, and the bow that is going to be the main focus of this build. So with that being said, if you guys like this, subscribe, comment, share, like this video, all that good jazz, and let's get into it. Alright, so let's talk about Oathkeeper for just a second. Now, Oathkeeper comes with its intrinsic perk, Snare Weaver. Precision hits and final blows build energy towards a Snare Weaver arrow that can be fired from the hip. On impact, Snare Weaver arrows create a pattern of traps that suspend nearby targets. And it also comes with the trait perk that this weapon deals bonus damage to suspended targets, and it gains faster draw time for a short duration when you suspend a target from any source or damage a suspended target with this weapon. So this is an amazing weapon in the sense that you can suspend people just with the intrinsic perk alone. And this is going to be a build by using the vanilla style of the gun with no extra crafting or anything. So that means you can even make this build better with crafting. Alright, so now that we've talked about Oathkeeper, let's go ahead and talk about armor and armor mods and all of that. So with that being said, let's begin with the helmet. Okay, so with the helmet, you're going to want to put on 2 strand targetings, or you can use 2 harmonic targeting. It doesn't matter because you will be using a strand subclass, so either strand targeting or harmonic targeting. And then for your third slot, you're going to want to put harmonic siphon, because you want to get it so that if you can manage to get rapid strand weapon kills, which is going to be your Oathkeeper, that you can generate some orb of powers, which are going to come in handy with this build. Now moving on to the gauntlets, you're going to want to make sure you have fastball on. And I know some people might not like that, but fastball is very crucial because we are trying to throw our grenade the farthest possible. Then after fastball, you're going to want to have bolstering detonation. This one will grant you class ability energy when you cause damage with a grenade. That is going to be very crucial because our dodge and our grenade go hand in hand. And of course, grenade kickstart, because grenade kickstart will help give you back some energy towards your grenade. So it just helps you get your grenade, which is going to be very crucial, back a little bit faster. Now onto the chest piece. You are going to want to just put on 2 harmonic unflinching. So that basically just means strand weapon unflinching, because obviously you want to have some unflinching when you're using a strand weapon, which is going to be, yet again, Oathkeeper. And after filming this, I have learned that emergency reinforcement doesn't really do much or have any benefit in Crucible. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you that for your third slot, go ahead and put whatever you want. You can go ahead and put another unflinching if you want. You can go ahead and put some other mod on, like reserves on for something else, if you feel like that's more beneficial. This mod does not matter. Now for the legs, you're going to want to have Innervation and Insulation on your first 2 slots for your legs. Now Innervation is going to give you grenade energy when you pick up an orb of power, and Insulation is going to give you class ability energy when you pick up an orb of power. And then you're going to want stacks on stacks in your third slot, which is going to give you 2 armor charges instead of 1 when you pick up an orb of power. So like I said, it's all kind of benefiting towards that orb of power, which is something that this build is going to kind of use a lot. Now for your class item, you're going to want Bomber. That'll give you grenade energy when you use your class ability or dodge. Then you're going to want Reaper, which is going to allow you to get a orb of power spawn on a weapon final blow after using your dodge. So dodge, get a weapon final blow, probably Oathkeeper, and it will spawn an orb, allowing you to proc all the other stuff. And then you're just going to want utility kickstart, just like grenade kickstart, just to give you back some dodge, regen when you use your dodge. So with all of that being said, you can go ahead and use the remaining energy on your armor for stat mods, because you're going to need to reach a certain amount of stats that we'll talk about just a little bit later. So with all that being said, obviously we have to go to the subclass, and we're going to be using Strand because our whole build's around Strand, and it's going to be very crucial on the stuff that we use. So with that being said, let's take a look at our subclass. Alright, so let's get into this subclass business. Now, for your super, you're going to want Silk Strike because you really have no other option. For your dodge, you're going to want Marksman because of the shortest cooldown. For your jump, it doesn't matter. Go ahead and use whatever you would like. For your melee, you only have Threaded Spike, so you're going to have to use that. And for your grenade, you're going to want to use Threadling Grenade. Now, Threadling Grenade is the most crucial part of this whole thing, and I'll get into that a bit later, because that is going to be how we're able to one-tap people and really just make them our prey. So with that being said, now let's move on over to the Hunter aspects. Now you're going to want to have Widow Silk on because you're going to want to have an additional grenade charge, and you're going to want Threaded Spectre. Now you're going to want Widow Silk because Widow Silk will allow you to charge a second grenade when you already have a fully charged grenade, and regardless will let you hold a second Threadling Grenade, and yet again, Threadling Grenades are going to be what makes this build so good. And Threaded Spectre is amazing because you can place a decoy that pings the radar, pulls aim assist, and that's all great in itself. Or you can also go ahead and use it so that when people approach it, it will explode, hurt them, and it will send out 2 Threadlings. Now I'm going to let you in on a little secret, just in case you didn't know, that you can go ahead and use Oathkeeper, or probably anything else, and destroy your own decoy to send out the 2 Threadlings. So that way you can also just use this as not just a decoy, but you can use this as almost another Threadling grenade. But with that being said, let's move over to now our Strand Fragments. So you're going to want to have the first one be Thread of Evolution. This will make your Threadlings travel farther and deal additional damage. It will also give you plus 10 intellect, but the best part about this is since we aren't not warlocks, they will not come back and perch on us, meaning they will go hunt down their prey. And then you're going to want Thread of Rebirth. This will allow your Strand Weapon Final Blows to have a chance to create a Threadling, so any kill with Oathkeeper will allow it to have a chance to spawn Threadlings to go hunt others, which is how we're going to get rapid kills because we will weaken them to a 1-tap, and that ways you can go ahead and rapid kill to spawn an orb. That is why we had Harmonic Siphon on our helmet. So with all of that being said, let's look over to Thread of Wisdom, because Thread of Wisdom is going to be one that really helps out in the end, and that's because we're going to be suspending targets with Oathkeeper. So defeating suspended targets will create an Orb of Power. So that's just great in itself, and warding, of course, when picking up an Orb of Power will grant you Woven Mail. And Woven Mail is going to allow you to literally go into direct gunfights and be able to pull out both arrows to kill people with no other benefits, like even if you didn't have Threadlings. So Woven Mail is very nice, and that is why orbs are going to become crucial, because Woven Mail will save your butt. So just in case you missed the names, just to go over what the threads were, or your Strand Fragments were, you need Thread of Evolution, Thread of Rebirth, Thread of Wisdom, and Thread of Warding. Now let's move over here to the stats. Alright, so with stats, there's obviously 2 things you want to have at 100. I mean, that is just straight up obvious, and with that, it's going to be mobility. Mobility needs to be a 10, so you get the max amount of decoys you can in a game. And not to mention, dodging is just one of the most crucial, helpful things in a Crucible match. That is just for sure, absolutely. Now, moving on from mobility, resilience is something that you do want, but you don't need. So having a low resilience is perfectly fine. Recovery, you want a higher recovery if possible, but don't be afraid if you can't get it that high. Now, discipline, you're going to want at 100. That's the other 100 one you're going to want. So you want to have 100 in mobility and discipline, because that is your decoys and your grenades. So intellect, you can want to have it as high as you can, but obviously if you don't have to, you're not relying on getting your super, especially if you're going to play in a game like competitive or trials. I mean, usually you only get your super about once a game, so you shouldn't even have to really worry about your intellect. And strength, our Threaded Spike is not the most useful with this build. It can make the enemies 1-tap, but with Threaded Spike, it doesn't have the farthest range and most accurate, so that would mean you have to be right up in their face, and with a bow, that's not the greatest of ideas. So to reiterate, mobility and discipline is the ones you want at 100, and everything else, obviously, try and get it as high as you can, but I would say resilience, recovery, intellect, and strength, kind of let that just be how you like to play, whatever your play style is, but definitely go for 100 mobility and discipline. I feel like that is the most crucial things about the stats. So yeah. Now, I have realized that I have shown you the exotic, but I did not straight up tell you what exotic you are going to want to use with this build. So your exotic armor you're going to want to use is Oathkeeper because you have the infinitely drawn bows and the good boost to airborne effectiveness will make your bow feel so nice for things like jump shots, in-air shots, if you're falling or whatnot. It is just a really nice thing. Now, every build needs a good energy weapon to kind of supply it, and no better than Felwinter's Lie. Now, you can use any energy weapon you want. The goal is that when you suspend people with Wishkeeper, if you can't finish them, like if you're too close and you kind of just got a lucky close shot, you're going to want something to finish them, like Felwinter's Lie or a fusion. Now, if you don't know how to get Felwinter's Lie, if you don't have it, you're newer or whatnot, you're going to want to load into the tower and head towards the vault, and in the middle of the vaults, you will see this exotic archive. When you enter it, at the bottom will be legacy gear. Go ahead and look at that, preview it, go into it, whatever you want to call it, and you should see it right at the top left in weapons. It is the first item that shows up. It's got a bit of a cost to it, but to be honest, nothing you can't work your way up to. So if you want a really good shotgun, go with Felwinter's Lie, or if you have something else in mind, don't be afraid to go with that. So what is the way to play? Like, how do you play with this build? Well, let me tell you. So the way you want to play with this build is by using your threadlings to basically be the cleanup crew or the first hit. Now, what I'm saying by that is when you see an enemy or you see one around the corner on your radar, throw your threadling grenades and let them hit the target first. This weapon, Wishkeeper, has a very hard punch to it, meaning you will be able to basically one-shot people as long as 1 or 2 threadlings hit that target. Or if you hit that target either with a body shot, which will probably require all 3 threadlings, or if you hit a target with a headshot, that 1 or 2 threadlings will have to hit it to kill him. So all you have to do is hit him in the head or body and throw your threadlings and let them go out and do the work. You never really want to put yourself in harm's way. That is the main goal. So with that being said, you're going to use your threadlings as a kind of first hit or cleanup crew, like I said, and you can also use your decoy threadlings or your decoy to lure them into ways to go, and that way you'll be sitting there with your infinitely drawn bow ready to hunt them down. So with that being said, that's it. I hope you guys find this build so much fun, so enjoyable. It is a great and fun PvP build, and it's very good in high-end PvP, comp, trials, all that. So with that being said, if you guys liked it, like, subscribe, comment, share, all that good jazz, and yeah. So with that, I'll see you around the Sol system.